good day. It is another beautiful day on your favorite show, Cacoa coming to you live again for another show. Oh my God, having these shows every 2 weeks, I thought it would not be as exhausting as having this show every week because, before I used to come on every single week and it was completely overwhelming. And I said, you know what? I'll try the 2 week thing, being as I'm in school and all of that stuff. And the 2 week thing seems like it's still exhausting. But needless to say, I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited to be here. I enjoy doing this. This is something that I have dreamt of forever. And I absolutely enjoy what I do. And I'm glad to bring you new guests every single 2 weeks or whenever it happens. I'm excited to bring you all the different talents, all the different entrepreneurs, all the different executives, all the different artists that we have all around the world. And I'm so glad that you have chosen to come on and be on with me. I want to remind you, if you're actually just tuning in, to let me know where you're linked or where you hooked up from. Where are you connected to us from? Drop a line. Let us know that you're locked in England, in New York, in Miami, in Dominica. I can't imagine, probably not too many of the Dominicans in Dominica probably will be on today because I heard it's Curl Festival happening in the nature island of the world. But guess what? It's okay. The show will be left on my timeline and you can always go back on there and, of course, view the entire show. You can also link up on my podcast link, which is on my website. So you can see both the entire show as well as listen to the show at a later date at your choosing, right? So that's how it works. That's how Cacoa goes. Today I have an awesome guest with me. I like to normally start off the show and let you kind of know how I know my guests. And I don't know if he will remember this. I don't know if he remembers me then. I'm not too sure. But I'm gonna spill the beans anyway. I'm not even sure if he's listening. Are you listening? You're in the lobby, right? You're listening. Just shake your head and let me know because I can't hear you. But right, okay. So he's listening. All right. So let me see if I jog his memory as to how long I've known him. I've known my guest since I was a child, like since I was my early days of high school. He was actually going to school in the same place where I was going to school. And I remember this black boy coming up and trying to talk to me. He was waiting for a bus, by the bus stop. They used to call it it was, my gosh, I can't remember the name of the place. Close to where the town hall is now in Portsmouth. But that's where everybody waited for bus to go home. And I remember he came up and he was talking to me and he was asked, but he had like an accent, which I couldn't understand where his accent was from, right? And then I heard that there's this guy doing karate, years later. And I'm like, but wait, but that boy looks so familiar. And he is actually blown up in Dominica and the Caribbean. And he has done very well for himself. But he's had a really, really, really humble beginning. Someone might say a tough beginning. I think it's a humble beginning because we all have to start somewhere. And I think his experiences, which you'll learn a little bit of later on in the show, his experiences actually led him to where he is. So you could take a bad situation and make it good, or you could take a bad situation and end up rotten. It's all up to you. And today I have, I'm going to call him Mr. Robin in joke because it's funny because I had a few people from Switzerland message me earlier on today. So if you're logged in from Switzerland, howdy, how are you? How do they say hi in Switzerland? Let me know. Let me know, drop a line and let me know how they say hi in Switzerland. Anyways, I have a few folks from Switzerland and one of them actually said, Mr. Robbie, and the other one said Shannah. And so he is on with us today, and I'm so excited to have him on with me for this edition of Cacoa Tea. All his social media handles will be in the box above, or for some of you below. Depends on how you're looking, and depends on what device you're actually looking at the show. So his social media handle will be below. You can hook him up on Facebook. He's very, very, very active on Facebook. So if you need any advice, after the show, you can always do that. But we encourage folks to send in your comments or your messages while the show is going on. And once we are able to, once the content is a-okay and we can ask the question, we will be sure to ask our guests, or ask the guests the question, and hopefully you can get a positive answer. I want at this time to bring in my guest. I I actually heard him speak out in public, probably for the first time, when I was listening to my girl Fadina. Fadina Frampton has an amazing show called In the Spotlight, and I heard him on there. Fadina will agree. Like, when I remember when she first started that show, I sat down in her office and we spoke about it even before it started, and getting ideas and all of these different things. And when I always try my best to listen to her show, because I'm one of those women. I like to support other women. I believe that we as Black women, we need to support each other, because that is the only way we can move ahead. That's the only way we can get ahead in life, especially as women, and worse again, women of color, right? So I always make a duty, on Monday evening, if I can, listen to Fadina's show, and get a sense of who she is. And she had Shannah on recently, a couple, well, it wasn't recent, it was a few years ago, and I didn't know all of that about him, and I was like, oh my god, this guy is like amazing, right? And he's here on Cacoa Tea, so I want to welcome my guest for today, who's going to be joining me. He's in the land of the cold like me. So he's going to be coming on to say hi. Hello.
Hello, good evening, Jael. Good evening. It's a
How
pleasure
are
to be here.
you?
I'm blessed. Actually, I'm just at my sewing machine right now, meditating, doing some Halloween purse and stuff like that for the young kids.
You meditating at your sewing machine?
That's it, man. That's it. Meditation is actually different kind of meditation. There's active meditation and there's conscious abstract meditation. So right now I am in conscious meditation where I'm focusing on making some Halloween little bags to put the candies for the little kids right now, you know?
You're a piece of work, you know that, right?
I was told so. I was told so. But you know what, man?
Do you
I
ever,
am.
do you ever
Huh?
do you ever stop? When do you stop? When do you sleep? When do you pause?
I have a question for you. Does your heart ever stop beating?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Exactly.
So you
So
never.
I'm just a big heart muscle outside of the heart, man. Like
I want to say welcome to you. Welcome to Cacoa Tea. You have your Cacoa Tea now?
boy, jail boy, let me tell you now, I have a glass there, but let me tell you, where I be there having got Cacoa. Where I be there have Cacoa jail. Where I be there is pure green tea.
Nothing to keep you warm.
Green tea, black tea, no Cacoa tea, man. No Cacoa tea. So right now, I just had some green tea. I'm maybe gonna make another cup in a minute, you know.
You need
But
to hit them and tell them what can really keep you warm, eh? You need to. I mean, a big Dominican man like you, come on, man.
well, I need to maybe fly over to Toronto and get some Cacoa, you know.
You know we have it in Toronto. Toronto doesn't miss anything.
I know.
Anything. We have that good Cacoa Tea.
Yeah.
Toronto. We're getting some people. Some people are coming in. I just want to just share with you a few of the people who are coming in. We have Jessica Ricketts. She
Hey,
all her support. She's sending you
that's
all.
family. That's family right there, man. That's family.
Yes. So we have a few people viewing right now, and we encourage them during the show, to send your shout outs, and we'll be sure to to shout you out as long as as early as we can. So big up to Jessica. I know she's out there in med school doing her thing.
Yeah.
So big up to her. Um, I want to congratulate you first of all. Before I even get into things, you were just inducted into the Caribbean Martial Arts Hall of Fame. That's what it's
Yes.
called. And I want to tell you a big congratulations, to you. I know you worked so very hard, and I'm sure you probably wasn't even expecting that, right?
Actually, let me tell you, no, I wasn't expecting it, to be honest. And social media is a very dangerous thing and is a very good thing. And actually, when I believe people are not looking at me, people are actually looking at me. And I was nominated by some grandmasters out in New York and South Carolina, and that was a pleasure because I have never met these people before, and they see my work and they follow me on Facebook, and they're like, we have to recognize this young man. And I was like, man, I had to just pack and leave and just do it spontaneously. You know who I am already. I don't waste time marking time.
That is the word.
But but you know what? If you don't OSHA in life, you're not gonna get nothing. You gotta be OSHA, man. You gotta have a drive. You gotta have a spirit of always moving, not procrastinating. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what OSHA means, the non-Dominicans or the non-Saint Lucians, OSHA, we need to do our own little slang and
Captain.
dialect dictionary. OSHA is when you fast and like to, some islanders will say you too fast. Well, in Dominica we say it OSHA. So that is what it equals, right? Or it equates. So those of you coming in, I want to say a big shout out. We have Dr. Nesty just stopped by. She goes, hello. She's saying hello to us. I miss you guys. Sniff, sniff. I know this show is gonna be great. So she's locked in. Although I think she's supposed to be at Curl Fest, but she's locked in. She's here. We're grateful. We also have Belle Angel, who's listening from Vaughan and saying hello to the guests. We also have the Dominica's Minister of Tourism is on. You put in some popular people, man. Some
Yeah.
important people, man. Yeah, powers, man.
Well, when you do great things follow you. You know what I mean? Like the works
And
you put out is what you're gonna get the results from. You know what I mean?
I want to big up, Mr. Robert Tong. He's saying big up my brother, wishing you more success. Continue to
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Me and you, we have business to talk, bro. We got business to talk.
some Cacoa too, okay? So folks, are coming in. Mr. Tong, he listens. He checks in all the time on my shows and always making sure that I'm staying on the straight and narrow. Right? And as you know, his wife and I are very, very good friends. So big up to all of you coming in right now. We have Antoine Wilders is listening from Anguilla. So Anguilla is also in the house.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
In your love. Ruth is bigging up. Ruth Augustine is saying hi. Let us know where you locked in from so we can shout out where you at as well. I like to start my show, all of my shows, by getting to know my guests, because my perception of who my guest is might not be who they think they are, or might not be. They say there's the truth, and the real truth, right? Right. So there's three parts to everything, and I want to know, and my guest would like to know, who are you? Who are you?
You asking me that question? Who am I?
Yes. And I never told you to go like Benny Man the girl them sugar.
Well, people ask me that question all the time, and I just simply tell people, I am nature's greatest miracle. I am just one of the miracles that the universe has bring forth, and I'm just grateful. And I'm a humble being. I'm a humble person. I do my best to stay as humble as I can and not forgetting my roots. You know what I mean? And that's just basically it. But if you want to go more into details, being nature's greatest miracle, I was born in a nice little village in the island of Dominica. And I was born on the northeastern part of Dominica, a little village called Marigot. For those of you who want to travel, that's where the Menville Airport is located. And I was born in a family, unfortunate family, very humble family. I don't say poor very often because poor is relative, but financially super poor, poor in lack of opportunities, even at one point, lack of education, lack of information. I was born in a situation where I had to fend for myself from a very, very young age. And if you want to be asking about, like,
When
family wise,
when you say fend for yourself, um,
mhm.
that term is very very vague. What does fend for yourself mean?
Well, I'll tell you, the good thing about my life is, Jael, is that I have a very photographic memory. And I remember stuff from since I was 3 years old. And
Wow.
maybe that's one of the reasons why I am who I am today, because with all these memory and all these flashbacks, they give me the drive to move forward. I remember when I was a little kid, my mom couldn't read, she couldn't write. I'm the second child of my mom, and she couldn't take care of my brother and I. And I don't know if you remember, if you say you grew up in Portsmouth, you remember Sugarloaf.
Yes, I grew up in Vegas, but
Right. So
I
you had to pass Sugarloaf to come to Portsmouth for school. And my mother used to work at Sugarloaf,
okay.
all right, taking out the copra and the coconuts and all of that stuff and so on. And first and foremost, my mom never really wanted me because of the way my dad treated her, right? And I got to find that out late in my life. And when I was very young, around 3.5 years old, I remember my mom used to leave me and my brother by a lady by the name of Fideline, who died very, very a long, long, long time ago. And this lady used to beat us on our head with spoon. People talking about child abuse. This is one of the first beating I got was with a spoon on my head, my brother and I. And I remember my brother was much older than I was, and he's in St. Martin somewhere. And we walked, I don't know if you remember, but we walked from Borough Square, not Borough Square, from by the market where Rosie Douglas used to live.
Yes.
Fideline, right. So we walked from all that way, two little boys, all the way to Sugarloaf. That's over a mile. I was 3.5 years old. My brother maybe was about 7 or 8 years, 8 or 9 years. I don't know how old he is. He's older than me. But, and we walked and I told my mom what had happened, and she was very angry. And she decided to contact my father. I didn't know who my father was at that point. I've never met my father, never saw him ever. And she contacted my father, according to my grandmother, and so on. And my father agreed to for my grandmom to take me to live with her, and he would help my grandmother raise me,
Okay.
right? So
That's
with that,
something that happens a lot in
yes,
time in West Indian.
in West Indian culture. Well, unfortunately, my grandmother did take me, but my father didn't hold up his end of his bargain. So now I was left, yeah. So now I was left with my grandmother, and my grandmother couldn't read and write. She was an alcoholic. She was a farmer. She had a high blood pressure. She had diabetes from the alcohol and all that, and she had 7 children raising at that
Wow.
time.
So
And
that
she was,
wasn't just you. There were
she,
other guys in the home.
yeah, her children. Most of her kids was living with her at that time,
Okay.
and it was really tough. It was really, really tough. So when I say I used to fend for myself, it means that sometimes my grandmother would go to the garden and she would leave me to take care of myself to go to school. Now, I didn't start elementary school. I didn't go to elementary school. I started primary school when I was around 7, 8 years, around 7.5 to 8 years old. That's when I started primary school. And
What were you when you started primary school? What were you considered as, or who did they consider you to
well,
be?
I was considered to be, quote unquote, back in the day, a Duncy cat, right? I
Scared.
a Duncy cat. I couldn't read. I didn't really know my ABC that well. I was very slow. And that's the reason. And the reason for that is because I was born in an unfortunate family. My mom couldn't read. My grandmother couldn't read. Most of my uncles didn't finish high school, so they could maybe count words. So I didn't really have anybody to really guide me and teach me to song the words of and duh and all of that stuff that you do with your kids that can read at 3 years old. And I remember, a lot of the teachers, they knew I knew the word, but I didn't have the help that I needed. And I remember my grandmother used to go to the garden and she would have $1, man. And you remember, I don't even remember though, back in the days, they used to have this small carnation milk, and carnation was a very popular thing, and cheese was a very popular thing, and the local dollar bread, right? The oven bread, not the ready-made bread that we have now, the local bread that goes with your Cacoa tea. Right, right. And sometimes my grandmother would leave one bread for me and a small tin of for the whole day. And I had to cut that bread sometime in 3 pieces. And I talking a dollar bread is about this long, right? That wide. And I had to take a piece for my breakfast. Sometimes no snack for school, and then take another piece for my lunch, and then take another piece for the evening time because sometimes she didn't have money to cook and whatnot. So I used to help myself by going in the bush, going in the river, going in the sea and fish and shoot birds, and I would cook my own food. My first pot of food, I remember cooking my own pot of food at the first time on a real stove, not fireside, not the firewood like in the bush, but on a stove at 8 years old, and it was cooking butter and plantain. If you're old school, those of you old school, you know what cooking butter, hot cooking butter, right? Your pot coming out yellow.
Oh my God. So I was telling somebody recently that I enjoy cooking butter.
Oh, cooking butter and dry bread.
And
Ah,
breadfruit.
and
Right?
breadfruit.
The person was
Yeah,
like,
man.
Dale, you eat that? Like,
Yeah, man.
I'm like, yeah, that was the life. Like,
That
I didn't eat it at home because that was the experience I had at home. But when I would go out to like my friends, or people in the neighborhood and stuff, and they'd say, let's go by the bay and roast breadfruit and cooking.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
That
So
was
that was my daily food. That was my daily food most of the time, and it was just what it was. And I remember many times I used to be very hungry, didn't have anything, so I became very playful. And
so Shannah, would you say that you saw a bit of misery growing up?
oh, not a bit of misery. I saw a lot of misery. A lo- I saw, I saw, I saw a lot of misery growing up. I mean, just name it, I saw it. Just name it, I went through it. So when I see these kids going through certain things, and I see kids taking life for granted these days, it get me up a little bit angry because they have no clue. And I go to school with, Jael, listen, man, I went to school with no shoes at one point. I went to school with a piece of book and a piece of pencil at one point. I remember I had to take I don't know if you, well, you maybe was a little more fortunate than me, but in primary school, my grandmother buy me the black and white book. You remember that black and white book? She used to how to cut that with the scissors, and half of that was for me to go to school. And she would break the pencil in half. Then she would take a thread from the crocker's bag, make a knot around the top of the pencil, and she would tie it on my shirt button. So my shirt button has a thread attached to my pencil that I would write. So I would not lose that pencil. And if I ever lose that pencil, I would have gotten beaten. My grandmother would beat because my father at that time wasn't taking care of me. He wasn't doing what he was doing, and I claimed my father. My father didn't claim me. Back then, I mean, back then it was a little bit. I was a little bit angry, and maybe that's why I became very full of rage and full of anger and full of pain. But now I'm grateful because it made me the strong mind, the strong positive mind that I have now. That experience made me very strong to never give up, to never give in, to never let people believe they can tell me who they are by just their opinion, because someone's opinion of me is not my reality. You understand? That's just your opinion. Because a lot of people say a lot of things about Shannah Robin, but do you really know who I am? As you rightly said. And then when I go down into the details and I start telling people who I am, they get shocked. They're like, "Wow, I didn't know you were born like that. You're so articulate. You're so ambitious. You're so this." I'm like, "Yeah, because of the misery I went through made me so ambitious." Because
About your school days. I want to know about your school, going to school, because I can't imagine somebody.
Jared, you want to stay here until tomorrow morning? Well, you know, my
Don't
school.
worry, I know how to shut you up. It's there strong.
That just so you think I'm your met. I'm your met. But you know, like my school days, oh my God. Like my documentary is coming out. I talk briefly about it. Um, man, my school days when listen, I was in primary school and I was so ill disciplined. I used to get beat all the time. I was called names. I was very, very black. I wasn't nice and nice like how I am now. I was black, black. You know
But
what I
you
mean?
still black.
No, no, I have a nice black now. I don't like that black anymore. I prefer my black when I was growing up. My black was dark and shiny, like Shaka Zulu black, you know? now my now my black is fading away. I don't like that.
You fine.
It's refined, you know?
You
But
know what? About the diamond, right?
to
Better
get back,
you off.
you know what I mean? But to get back to to my school days, like I was saying to you, I went to school with one pants. I'll give you a real true life scenario. I had one school pants and one school shirt for like 2 years straight. And every day I come from school, I have to wash my own clothes. At 7.5 years to 8 years old, I was already washing my clothes in the river. You understand? And every day I come from school, I had to wash my school shirt and hang it up so I could have it for the next day. My pants used to be full of stain because we used to have to pass through the banana fields to go to school because there was a shortcut. And I had to go under the banana trees to look for bananas to eat together with cocoa, all right? And sometimes coconut, and to run away from school to go and look for mangoes to eat because I didn't have breakfast sometimes. I didn't have, I remember standing up in assembly and my chest would be hurting and all that kind of stuff because I didn't eat. And man, there's so much things that I could tell you about my school days. Like I used to steal. I don't know if you remember that book. I see a kite. I see a red book. I see a. I stole that book from school to help me to learn to read. Right.
Why did you
I
do
used
that?
to steal because
That's important.
there was one guy. His name was Neville Peer. May his soul rest in peace. I always give him credit because I think he sparked the greatness inside of me. And beside people calling me names, saying I would be a good for nothing, I'm a worthless, I will never make it, I will end up a bum like some of my uncles, and constantly hearing you stupid, you black, you ugly, your breath stink, your big ears, all these things. I hear all these things growing up, and honestly, it had a negative effect on me in a certain way that I was retaliating negatively towards it. But it also gave me the opportunity to tell myself, one day I'm going to prove these people wrong. And I was saying that to prove the people of Mara got wrong, because that's where I was growing up then. And I said, one day the people of my village is going to respect me. But I didn't realize the whole country and the whole Caribbean and the whole world, by extension, has grown to respect me today. So, but we'll get into that, right? And and I used to, yeah, and I used to go to school. Like I used to run away from school to go and look for food to eat. I used to go to school with holes in my shoes. I used to go to school and can't. Sometimes my grandmother would not even go for my school book. She didn't care if I read or write. She used to say to me, "Go and study your book. Go and study your book." But that's all she could say because she don't know if I'm doing good or not because she can't read, she can't write. But you couldn't fool her with money. She could have count. She couldn't read. And that was the old people back in the days. They couldn't read, they couldn't write, but they had a lot of common sense, a lot of life sense, right? I call it life sense.
Street smart.
And so my school days was very tough. It was very hard. It wasn't fortunate like a lot of you guys. And
Why you say a lot of you guys? Do you think
no, well, I mean, say like I mean, you had your mom there for you. Maybe you had your dad for you. Most people they either have their mom or their dad, or they have one parent. For me, I had no parent whatsoever. Maybe you had someone to help you to pronounce words and to help you to learn to write. I used to write upside down. I could still write upside down. Like I could take my book like this, turn it upside down, and write.
yeah, my
You
sister
understand? You understand? And it was Neville Peer who said, no, you have to learn to write upside up. Not even the school teachers taught me to write upside up. They would laugh at me, some of them, right? And I used,
where was your mom in all of this? Because your
in
mom
all of that, she was in Portsmouth. She had already left Marigot. She was working in Sugarloaf in Portsmouth, and I was now staying with my granny. right? I was staying with my grandmother. My father was in Marigot as well, doing his thing, a fisherman. Maybe all the talents and skills I have, I maybe got it from my father because he was very, very, very talented. That's one thing.
So did
It does not.
looking for your mom to say, "Hey, mommy, I'm not eating. I'm not. You don't mind."
Well, well, she didn't have. Well, I was with her and she didn't have. She was struggling, and at that age, when your mom is you're being sent to spend holiday with your mom, because I remember I used to be going and spend holidays with my mother, right? And my mother used to say to me, she don't want me. Why do they come down to Portsmouth? And I would spend 2 days sometimes, and she would send me back up. And I lived with my mom the longest when I became a teenager. When my grandmother died, at that time she didn't have a choice. I had to go live with her. So, but in my early childhood days, what the story I'm telling you right now is between the age of 3.5 years to the age of 12 years old. All what I'm telling you right now is after 12 and a half, well, up to maybe 14, when my grandmother died from alcohol poisoning and high blood pressure and stuff like that in the hospital, then I had to go live with my mom. And that is where I started going to school in Portsmouth. That's where I came up and talked to you and you cut style on me. That's okay. You know, that's okay. Many of the girls did that back then, but
Yo,
they ain't doing that back now. Because I used to talk Coco. I wasn't talking nice, pretty English like I'm talking now. I was shabby, ragamuffin as you want to call it.
have a problem with your look. It was just
Mm.
your accent was just
Like
like,
from Mary God, what you expect? It's Coco we talking.
but there were not many people from in our age group around that time who got to school from Marigot. You know,
Right,
most people, you were just an exception to the rule. You had to stay in your community, and you just like me, because I went to school. I'm from Vegas, and
right,
I went to school in Portsmouth all my life, right? And it's just
right.
my parents wanted me to attend school in Portsmouth, and you had a different circumstance, but you were there in Portsmouth, and I was just like, but when we come,
Well,
I
you
thought,
want to know how I end up to Portsmouth?
no, I never thought you were ugly or ragamuffin or anything. I just could not
Well,
get past your
that was the notion of most of the girls. I won't call any names now because I don't want to hurt no feelings. But
no,
the beautiful thing, all these girls now, girls are rush me. But
Well,
well,
let's go back. Let's go back to okay. So you've left living with your grandmother because she's passed on, and you decided to well, you had no choice but to move in with your mom in Portsmouth. What was that transition like? Because you're coming from
you asking me some serious question there, man. Like, oh man, wow. I'm laughing now, but I really don't like talking about that because it really brings back a lot of memories that I try to bury. But before I went to live with my mom, let me tell you a little bit about my dad. I remember one time, my dad was a fisherman. He was one of the best fishermen ever. May his soul rest in peace as well. And I used to always be by the bay fishing, and I used to see this black man, and I didn't know it was my father. And one day I went to my grandmother and I was crying, saying, I'm hungry. And back in the days, I don't know if you remember, the men used to play dominoes, and they used to play dominoes for milk, dominoes for rice,
yo.
domino for.
I used to hurt my father to win.
So I'm not lying, right?
No, you're not
So
lying.
so my father was a very big domino player, and I remember my mom said to me, "Go to that shop." It was a shop in Marigot owned by the Gray, Koshi, and go to a Koshi shop and you'll see a black man, the ugliest black man. That's what my grandmother described it. She said, the blackest man in the shop, that's your father, and tell him you hungry. That's how I claim my father. So I went in the shop. I said, good afternoon, because, back then, elders used to make sure you have respect. So I said, good afternoon. And I scan, everybody's like, what do you want? And I had no shirt on, I had a piece of pants with holes and stuff. And I said, good afternoon. Um, I look around. I seen this big black man with a bald head almost like mine playing dominoes. So I walk up to him. I say, is your name Mbut? He said, because that was my father's name. He said, yeah. He said, well, I said to him, well, my grandmother told me to tell you that I am hungry and you are my father to feed me. Just like that. And you know, back in the days when you give a child a message, they
It's
go in and say it exactly how it is.
had no choice.
And
Get blues.
all the other men in the shop started to laugh,
Yeah.
right? And I was sitting there, and I remember the first food. It was a Shirley biscuit and a Juicy.
Wow.
I don't know if you remember the days of Juicy,
Mm.
right? It was a Shirley biscuit and a Juicy, and that was the first food my father gave me. You know, I say that it bringing emotions, but man, like wow. But
Take your time. Take your time.
it's it made me even a little bit angrier because my father, after that, the men in this they start calling me Shan Bum because I came and I dropped a bomb on my dad, and and my father was a little bit embarrassed and so on. And then we started talking and we started moving and then we started doing certain things, and but he never keep up to his bargain, and my father had like 32 children thereabout, right? And so that's how I claim my dad. So my dad didn't come in a hospital and claim me and say that's my son, right? Although he knew I was his son. And at the same time, I think he was married as well. So, he got my mom pregnant while he was married. So he couldn't take care. So that was the reason why my mom had resentment towards me. And I didn't know that until I became 33, 34, no, 45 years old. I only found that out. So I lived my whole life with my mom giving me resentment. And
Wow.
I always telling myself, I'm going to prove my mom wrong. I'm going to be a man and she's going to be proud of me, etc., etc. And also tell myself, I'm going to prove my dad wrong. And I remember when I used to go and ask my dad for fish. And my father used to come home sometime with a boatload of fish. The flying fish? My father would come home with a boatload of flying fish. And my father would give me only five.
Wow.
Literally, only five from a whole boatload. And he would give other people's children a whole bunch, right? And I used to just I used to take it and bring it for my grandmother. My grandmother would be making noise. And my grandmother like, oh, that's what your father giving you? Oh, big fisherman like your father. And I used to be between a rock and a hard place trying to juggle with that emotion and stuff like that.
You're
So what
trying
I
to
used to
connect with him on a different level as well. And
uh
because you were trying to connect with him clearly on a different level as well. So you would
but
accept.
yeah, I mean, it is when a kid don't know who his dad is, and you finally find out who your father is, and you seen your father living within walking distance, and the bay is from seriously walking distance away, and he's coming in, and he's of course you want to connect with your dad, but the question is only so much that could have taken place. You know what I mean? And I remember I had to be begging him for everything. Like sometime I'd beg him for his shoes, and he used to go to Guadeloupe and Marigaland. Back in the days, they used to transport people to Marigaland, right? And he would bring me a plastic shoes, the ice green and gold plastic shoes, and I had to put a sock.
Suzuki. That was a Suzuki.
Suzuki, that's it,
Oh my
Suzuki,
God.
right?
I used to beg my mother for a Suzuki.
Oh man, well I used to rock Suzuki,
I
bro.
used to beg my mother. I said, mommy say no, that's not for you.
Let me tell you, I used to rock Suzuki so bad that when my Suzuki burst, I would take my grandmother's knife, put it in the fire, and pass it under the two thing, and stick back my Suzuki.
Oh my
Kids
God.
of today don't know that. They never been through that, where you have to try and sew back your own shoes because that's the only shoe you have, right?
Okay, so
And
so you met your dad. You
yeah,
your grandmother passes on, and then you move to Portsmouth.
right.
'Cause now you're in high school now, right?
Ah, no, 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 no.
Take
before,
take
before
it
before you even go to there, because you see the thing about my mind is right, you see that's why I said I might could take up to tomorrow because the thing about it is with a photographic memory, you remember things that happen to you in sequence. That's why it's just so easy for me to write my book because I remember everything that happened to me in sequence, and I remember up to today. I remember it detail for detail. So to just go back a little while before I end up in Portsmouth, I failed common entrance twice. Right, I failed common entrance twice. Dr. Martin Christmas and I was in same class together, right? And these guys moved on,
Martin.
and I failed common entrance. At that time, I was doing athletics in Margaret. I was doing Shotokan karate, backdoor karate by a guy by the name of King, and then by a guy by the name of Potter Bruno, and that's where my first martial arts seed was planted. doing backdoor karate about 9.5 to 8.5 to 9.5 years old. And I met Potter around when I was around 12.5 to 13 years old. And I was doing Shotokan then. And that used to be my outlet because I used to be fighting a lot in school.
Who introduced you to that?
Huh?
Who introduced you to martial arts?
Well, you know who introduced me to martial arts? Watching, running by your neighbor and then watching through their louvers because you don't have a TV at your home. You don't have a TV at your home, so you have to go by the neighbor, right? And peep in their louvers, and you're watching them kung fu movies, and then you're excited after the kung fu movies, and you're going in your backyard and practice it. We call that backyard karate. So that is where my martial arts journey began, by watching through my neighbor's window.
What did you
understand?
think of these people when you saw them on TV? Like, what did you think of those martial artists when you saw them on TV?
Oh, I wanted to be like these guys. Like I'll tell you, like I had a couple role models, you know, and I wanted to be like these guys. I wanted to be like Bruce Lee was my main guy, and then I had Van Damme, and then I had Cynthia Rough-Rock, who I get to meet after how many years? I get to meet her last week in Barbados, and then you had people like Billy Blanks, you know, and then you had people like Rambo. Rambo was one of my favorite. Rambo used to give me power to go in the bush and just behave like a barbarian, you know what I mean? But you know, you know, so that was my martial arts journey. That's how I started. And then I remember one day I was by the Bayside and I met my Shotokan teacher. He and his student was practicing, and I walk up to him. It was a school day, and I walk up to him and say, "Would you teach me karate?" Because I was just roaming the Bayside. And then he was like, "No, I can't teach you. Why you're not in school?" But
Yeah.
I'm looking for food. I'm hungry. I'm hungry, and I'm going to fish so I can get food to go try and go back. And then he's like, "No, I can't teach you. You should be in school." Blah blah blah. And I was like, "Please, would you teach me?" And I wouldn't leave. And then he's like, "Okay, if you want me to teach you, you go over there in the corner and go in a squat position, which is we call a horse stance, and count to 100." And I went and did that, you know. And I was like, okay, that's the test. Because for the Kung Fu movies, I was watching what they used to do, them guys, put them to sit down in a horse stance, put them to sit down in a stance for hours and hours. So I was like, that's easy. Then when I reached the first 100, he gave me another 100 and another 100. So that day I did about 500 in a horse stance. And then when he saw my determination, that's when he started teaching me. And, you know, and yeah, he became like my father for a very long time. We used to spend a lot of time together. And he was one of the person who gave me an opportunity to go back to school, my karate teacher. And yeah, so now I can move to Portsmouth. So after failing common entrance twice, then I went to GSP. And let me tell you, like I used to go and clean people pig pen. I used to go and scrub people yard on my knees with chlorine. I used to go and weed people yard. I used to go and make cocoa broom and go sell. I used to go get my fish, shoot my birds and go sell. And that's how I used to make little $1, $2, $3, so I can buy some bread and buy sugar and stuff like that. So after failing common entrance twice, I moved to we call it it was GSP. They don't have that program anymore for people who tech buck, right? For people who were not academically inclined. It was called
second chance. It was like your second chance at high school.
It was your second chance. It was your second chance to enter high school,
yes.
Right? And then I failed that because I was fighting with my teacher for a Walkman. That's why I tell you, if you want to, I could tell you details. Brinker, Mr. Abraham, who is the principal of the West Secondary School now. And you know, it's good when you go to your country, like these guys turn around and they respect you and give you, and they big you up, you know, because they remember where you came from and they saw you from nothing to something. That's beautiful. You know what I mean? So anyway, I failed that and I was kicked out in second form. Okay. Now I went to Foundation High School run by Mr. Martin Roberts. Those of you in Marigot, those of you in Wesley, you'll know Martin Roberts was a military man. And I used to go and clean Mr. Martin Roberts' pig pen. I used to go and clean his yard wife, his goat pen. And he told me, because he had, why don't I come to his school? And at the time, school fee was $40, right? School fee was $40 with him. And I said, sure, man, I want to come to your school. And I was excited because now I'm getting an opportunity to go to high school after failing common entrance 2 times. And I went there. I spent a year. That's where I get in.
$40 to go.
Well, to be honest with you, I used to go and carry bananas to pay my school fee because my grandmother couldn't pay it. I used to go and carry bananas on my head for different people. And some of them would exploit me. Some of them would not give me the money. Some of them would give me half the money. Some of them would tell me everything. But I was the type of guy, you feed me and I would work for you for a mule. I would work for you like a mule. I would work for you tirelessly. So most of them, they know I was growing up very humbly, very poor. So they would give me what you call sardine, the varicose sardine, if you remember varicose sardine, and the big dollar bread and my Cacoa tea. And then I would tie my kata on my head. Kata is the thing you tie to put the fig on. And I would be carrying bananas for you all day long. And that's how I used to get my $40 to pay my school fee. Anyway, fast forward in that, when the time come, at that time I still could hardly read and write. I was counting words, but I was doing a lot better. And I failed because this was the situation. The principal of the school said, those of you who have to go and carry bananas on the Thursday could go and do that. And when you come to school, you'll get the exam on the Friday. But I used to be in a gang, all right? I used to be in a gang of fellas that was just, them fellas, they would just beat you for fun. That's the type of guys I used to hang around with. And that's one of the reasons why I'm solo these days. I'm solo. Everybody who know me now, I'm always by myself because birds of a feather flock together. When you want to prosper, you got to cut certain friends and cut certain places and cut certain things, right? And I used to be in that gang. And the sad part about it, most of these people in that gang, I went to Margaret a couple of years ago. Two of them are crazy, two of them in prison. I think I'm the only one that really make it. And I was the less fortunate one because all of these guys had their parents, had their mother, had rocking their shoes. And I wanted to be like them. That's the reason why I was in the gang, looking for that love, right?
What happened to you? Why you
couldn't? So to come back to that, so when I went to carry the bananas, because the principal said that, these same guys took the opportunity not to go to school that day. So when I went back to school on the Friday, right, instead of making me do my exam, the principal, Martin Roberts, he came to me and he said, oh, you guys plan not to go up to school today, yesterday, and you're not going to do the exam, you're going to be punished. And I'm like, no, sir, I was not with these guys. I didn't even know these guys didn't go to school. I was on my own trying to make money to pay my school fee. Oh, that's not an excuse. You have a detention. And back then, our detention was to go into the agriculture field and either weed or dig planting hole or dig banana holes. So I was sent, instead of making me do my exam, I was sent to go and dig banana holes and planting holes together with the rest of the gangs because he thought that we made a plan not to go to school. But the duck school. But that time, that one I was innocent. And I got so angry that the cutlass that they gave me, I cut down 2 coconut trees with a cutlass. And if you know how hard a coconut tree is, you will know the kind of energy. And my friends, they were going crazy. They think I was going mad. And I was so angry because I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to prove the people wrong. And everywhere I turn is like, I'm just being faced with obstacles. Nothing is working out. Everybody just looking down on me, taking advantage of me. And I was just so angry. And I cut 2 big coconut trees. I mean, like tall coconut trees with a cutlass, right? And anyway, the summer of that year came. 2 weeks before school opened, the principal called me while I was cleaning his good pen. Yeah, listen, while I'm cleaning his good pen, he called me and said, you know what, you're too old to be in second form, and I don't believe that you can go, you will be accepted back in high school. So technically, he's saying you are expelled, right? So I was expelled because I went to make money to pay my school fees, right? And man, there was nothing I could do. My grandmother couldn't help me. My father wasn't doing anything. So I was wondering what I was going to do. So St. Andrew's High School, where God bless this woman, Miss Gloria Shillingford. and she was the power rep for Wesley right now.
Yes.
And that lady, she's a very, very good lady. I don't know what nobody could say, but this lady, everything that you see of me today, education wise, this lady gave me that opportunity in terms of education wise. And I went to St. Andrews High School, and I was begging this lady, Miss Gloria Schillenford, to enter into high school. And she said, "Well, did you pass common entrance?" I said, "No." She said, "Well, did you pass GSP?" I said, "No." I said, "I was kicked out, but I want to go back to school because I want to make myself proud and make my country proud and prove everybody who say I can't do it wrong." And she said, "Well, I can't help you." I said, "Who can?" She said, "Well, nobody will help you. No school in Dominica will help you. Because back in the days, you had to pass GSP, you
That's
had to pass common entrance to enter into public high school. And no school in Dominica would take me." And I remember going back to this lady 2 weeks straight on her doorstep, just sitting on her doorstep. And every time she come out of her office, I'll be asking and asking and asking. And then she got fed up with me one day, and she said, "Would you like to go to school in Portsmouth?" And I said, "Yes. I don't care. I'll go to school anywhere." Because my grandmother didn't care neither. My father don't care. My mother don't care. So I am the only one that have to care for myself, right? So she said, "Okay, I'm gonna make a phone call." So I passed around the back of the school, and I sat down under the window and I marked her in. And I listened into the conversation. So she called up the principal, who's another great woman, Miss McGlaw of the Seventh Adventist Secondary School. God bless this woman's soul. They umbrella my education, right? Even notice I'm giving credit where credit is due, because that's why I'm a very big fan of integrity today. And a lot of people, when they make it, they forget where they came from and they don't give credit where credit is due, and that is very, very sad, right? But anyway, she called up Miss Maglaw, and she's on the phone with Miss Maglaw, and I'm listening under the window, and she's telling Miss Maglaw, "I have a little black boy here, and this boy, he pestering me for." Sorry, my phone. He's pestering me. He's pestering me for 2 weeks now to go to school, and I can't help him. Will the Seventh Adventist Secondary School take him? And Miss Marglo, being a kind-hearted lady, saying, "Well, you know what? Send him down to me, and I will give him an interview, and we'll see how it works." So I run back to the front, sat down on the step, pretending like I didn't know what was going on. And then she come back out and say, "I just called the principal of 7 Day Secondary School. You have to go down next Friday." Not next Friday, the Monday. It was a Friday, Saturday. So the Friday, the Sabbath, and then the Monday. So she said, "You have to go down the Monday." At that time, I had a BMX. I had a BMX bike, and I rode my bike for 26 miles from Marigot to Portsmouth. Right?
Wow.
Yeah, I rode my BMX bike because I didn't have money to pay the bus fare. I rode my BMX bike from Marigot to Portsmouth,
Where did
and
you guys?
and uh
Where did you get?
oh oh man, you don't want to know. I used to go in all kind of junkyard and take piece of bike by there, piece of bike by there, and make my bike. No, I was like MacGyver.
Somebody might say, BMX bike, how you poor and you have BMX bike? Why are you gonna
Well,
BMX?
let me tell you
I
something.
want people to
I,
understand that you
I
made
will tell you. I had a BMX bike because I used to work in a body shop. I was 11 and a half years old, and I was working in a body shop. So I used to do a little bit of welding, arc welding. So when someone threw away their old bike frame, I would take that, go in the body shop, weld that. Then I would go and look for, back in the days, bicycle was a big thing. So I used to go and look for old tires. Sometimes you could see the little needle coming out of the tire because I couldn't afford to buy tires. Then I had only one brakes, which was the front brakes. And the neck of the bike, when you press the brake, the neck's going to get, because it's not stable, right? And then I had my tube. Sometimes I would get a tube, an old tube from a friend who had a better bike than me, and I would go and I would take the rope from the fig bag, and I would tie the hole. You understand? Sometimes my tube have 3-4 holes, and I would tie it with the rope. You understand? And I would go and pump that up, and that was how I built my bike. I can laugh now because it made me become very innovative, and creative.
okay, so you
So
have your BMX bike to Portsmouth
to Portsmouth,
as you're going high.
because I go in high school. So when I went to my mom, that's when I first get into real connection with my mom after a very long time.
Okay.
So I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I'm going to go to high school, but I'm under 18. You have to come with me. And my mom started panicking. Oh, where are you going to get money to pay high school? Where are you going to get money? I got money. How come you coming down and thing and this and that and that and that and that? And my mom, oops, sorry. Sorry about that. And my mom started tripping. And I said to my mom, look, mother, all you need to do is come with me and I will pay my way. That's it. Just come with me and I'll pay my way. I don't need you to do nothing else for me. You
You're
just have to
only
come.
12, right?
No, I was at that time I was 15. At that time I was about 15, 15 and a half, thereabout,
Okay.
right? Because I left high school when I was 21 years old.
Wow.
I left high school as a big man in 2001, man, right? So when all my friends, that's why I said to you, when all my friends left high school at 15, 16, I was still in high school. So fast forward, and she came with me. And normally you have to do an exam to go into the Seventh-day Adventist secondary school. But not knowing to read and write properly and not having a level, I know the work, but I can't understand the work. I knew I was going to fail this exam. And then I had an exam anxiety whenever I go into an exam room because of constant failing.
Mhm.
And but the principal at the time, she made one comment. She said, well, you're already 15 years old and third form is already full up. And I'm not sure if we can take you, but if you pass the exam, we'll try something. So I look at her and I said, Miss, excuse me, put me back in second form and I will work my way up. So when I tell people I go to second form 3 times,
Wow.
3 times I've been to second form. So second form, for those of you who are listening, that's what, grade 10?
Yeah.
That's grade 10. So I've been to grade 10 3 times in my life. Right? One time at GSP, failed. One time at second Martin Foundation High School, failed, then expelled, and then at Seventh-day Adventist Secondary School. And when she heard that, she looked at me and she's like, "What? You're not normal." So I asked her what she mean because she said, "No, children don't want to be double." I said, "Man, I just want an opportunity. All I need is one chance."
Mhm.
And that's why I always get that one chance. That's why I get that motto. All you need is one chance. And to make the greatest of that chance and make the greatest that you can be and to be the person that you ought to be, right? And then she was very baffled by that statement. She was very baffled by my comment. And she said, you know what? Okay, you're going to have to get your school clothes and get your books and get your school fee. Now I asked her, how much was the school fee? She said $190. I said, like, what? I'm like, I could hardly pay $40.
Dollars. I know.
How am I going to pay $190? But anyway, my determination was like, to hell with that. I know I couldn't ask my mother. And by that time, my grandmother was very sick. So I know I was going to ask her. I know my father wasn't going to do it. But anyway, I went to my father. And before I went to my father, sorry, I went back to Marigot, ride my bike again, back to Marigot, because at that time I was accepted. I was given a free tie. That's why when I was leaving the Seventh Adventist Secondary School, I gave away my school tie because when I was coming into seven, somebody gave me a tie.
Wow. Somebody
So
bless.
somebody blessed me with a tie. So I blessed somebody else with a tie when I was leaving school. And so that is why I have always been a giving person, because when people give, you have to give back, and your cup will always be
Overflow.
replenished, always be overflowing with greatness, right?
We
So
have some
anyway,
feedback. We have some feedback coming in. I want to take the feedback because I don't want
yeah.
them. It doesn't say you're such an inspiration and a role model. I am proud of you and your achievement. You and your experience should be used as a beacon of hope to young people. I strongly recommend that you write a book. We have a few people. Ron Bly saying, "Bless my brother." Keyshawn Florine is also saying, sending blessings your way. Uh,
Yes.
uh, Somebody else is saying, Martina is saying a very inspiring story. Martina is hailing from New York City, so she's locked in. Kamisha Henderson must share. So we're getting a bit of feedback, and I just want to encourage, if you actually viewing the show right now, to hit share so that somebody else can get in and somebody else can know his story, because I think it's hard for you not to want to cry even listening to you talk.
I try not to. That's the reason why I'm laughing, because
Sideways, like by big face
man,
in there. It's a very
man,
inspiring story,
Man,
and
I tell you, man, Jael, I'm not even going into the depths of things, I'm not even going in the depths of things because some of it is just too emotional to speak about.
mm.
You know what I mean?
So you went through high school and you came out of it a better person. Then you decided that you're going to focus on the martial arts aspect of it, of life. Why did you decide that you want to get heavily into martial arts, to even go as far as teaching martial arts?
Well, I always knew I was gonna be some kind of teacher because even when I was negative, even when I was in the gang and all of that, I was always the leader. I was always the one instigating something. I was always the one going and thief the bananas. I was always the one going and thief.
Why the man believes that only make a
So so I was always the instigator back then. So even when I was negative, I was very influential and and I was fearless. That's why my nickname back then used to be Shatu, which means octopussy for those who don't know what a Shatu is. And it's because I was flexible. I would pass in any hole. I remember while I was in Adventist secondary school, I used to be in the school and I would stay back in the dormitory and I would climb for a little hole to tea food in the kitchen in the dormitory in the Adventist secondary school so I could eat, so I could do my homework because my mom didn't want me, in her. It was always argument at home. It was always problem. It was always stress when she drunk and she and my stepfather fighting. It was a whole bunch of. It was just a disaster in my house, right? So I remember, yeah, man. I remember. So I karate. When I first started karate, I two reasons. One, I wanted to be an assassin. I wanted to just kill everybody who hurt me. I'm telling you straight off the bat, right? And that's my main goal when I.
assassin.
Yeah, I didn't want because I didn't have mother love, I didn't have father love, I didn't have girlfriend. Nobody wanted me. So just put me in a place. Let me kill people for a living. Let's kill all. You want somebody dust off? You call me and I do the job. That was my anger, my hurt, my pain speaking back then. But that wasn't the true me. That was just me trying to retaliate to something that was going on in my life. Because I'll tell you, when I was 7.5 years old, I was molested. Most people don't know that. Now I can talk about it because I'm big enough to speak about it and I'm strong enough to. I've come to peace and I've forgiven these people and I have, and I didn't want to go down that road because I don't want to bring back that kind of vibe. You know what I mean? But I feel for people who've been in those situations and it's really wow, man.
Okay, so you decided you're gonna become a martial artist.
Yeah, so I wanted to kill people for a living, and I mean that notion stayed there for a very long time. And I used to train hard. I used to train, and I used to learn the anatomy of the body. I used to learn how to do all of those things and so on. That's how I get into massaging and how I get into the healing of things because I know the body very well. But what really struck me in not becoming that type of person, because martial arts wasn't about killing people or hurting people. Martial arts was about bettering yourself, being the best person that you can be, expressing yourself in a positive way. And the Seventh Day Adventist Secondary School and martial arts helped to groom me because I used to party a lot. From 9 years old, I was in a disco, right,
Wow.
with my grandmother. Every Friday night, I was in a club, right, because my grandmother wasn't leaving me behind. That was one thing I could say. She wasn't leaving me for nobody. So no matter where she go, drunk or not, she was taking me with her. And that's why I free spirited and I dance well and I because it's in my blood, right? It's in my blood. But that's what I'm saying, man. I'm just giving you flashes, man, like flashes. And like so the Seventh Adventist Secondary School say you can't do carnival. You go carnival, you're gonna get detention and whatever. And I didn't want to get that. I got a detention one time in my lifetime, and I said never again. Because when I went to the Seventh Adventist Secondary School, there was a particular teacher who told me you will never make it to fifth form because I was so rude and ill disciplined. And I said, what? Here we go again. These people tell me I can't make it. And I told her, look, I'm gonna prove you wrong. All right. And then another teacher said to me the same thing. I said, look at me, I'm going to prove you guys wrong. And so that started motivating me. And I used to be doing all the different sports in school, basketball, athletics, volleyball. And I remember I alone make my whole club win because I didn't like to lose back then. I wasn't a loser. I never had a loser mentality. I always had, I'm a winner mentality. All right. That's me. I always had a winner mentality. And I remember running and doing all the race for my house, for my school club, and won that year. I was in Blue House, right? And the Adventist secondary, and I went to secondary school without, to the Seventh Adventist secondary school without those people knowing my pain, knowing what I was going through. Because I always had a smile on my face. I was always bigging up somebody. I was always encouraging somebody. I was always there to show somebody love in spite of my situation and what I was going through, you know? And nobody knew until the day when I got to 12th grade or fifth form, when I was leaving school, and then we had what we call confession because it was a Christian school. And when I started telling people what I was going through, now you may ask yourself, how did I get to pay my school fees? I get to pay my school fees because I was working 4 jobs while going to school. I used to work at Woods's Pizza. I used to work at a Longhouse. I used to paint people houses, and I used to go scrubbing people yard. And you can put that 1 5. I used to go and wash bus. All right, Mr. Baba, my Baba, they will tell you I used to be washing their bus by the side of the road for $5.
I remember that.
Yep.
I remember because I was friends with Medalia. I
Yes.
go by Medalia
Okay.
homework.
Yep. I was.
You
Yep.
say that. I remember
Yep.
you watching us.
I used to wash. I used to wash bus on the side of the road. But I used to. I was the one. I used to wash Mr. Baba bus every Saturday, sometimes twice a week, so I could make a little money and so on. And I used to go paint their house. They used to give me to go scrub their yard and so on like that. Sometimes my Baba would lock me in her shop so I could do my homework because I couldn't do it at home because my mom is always an argument. There's always a fight. There's always something. And yeah, and so and that was the stuff. But coming back to the martial arts part of it, so that's how I started. So I said to myself, if I can be negative and I have such a good influence in school, why not be positive? Because I was such a bad, troublesome boy in school that the principal would just take me and lock me in her office to sit down. She would show a point where she wasn't punishing me anymore because she just realized I was looking for attention, and
Finding
and
things would be your punishment.
yeah, so she just decided she wasn't punishing me anymore. So she would just lock me in her room to sit down, and we would chat and stuff like that. And because I used to sing a lot of dance hall. I wanted to always be like Asa Bantan and these guys. But back in the days, they didn't have no opportunities for that, and I wasn't gonna do nothing where I can't prosper because my whole notion is to prove my village wrong, to prove them wrong, make them respect me. So yeah, so I used to work.
And you're done. And
Huh?
you pay your school fee and you complete high school.
Yeah.
When you were confessing, what did you say?
No, well, I told them where I came from. I told them what I used to do. I told them how much jobs I was working. I told them how I used to come to school with no food. I confessed going into the dormitory and passing through the hall and thieving the food in the dormitory, and because I had to do what I had to do, boss man. You know what I mean? And everybody started crying, and everybody, it was an emotional thing, and but we became tighter, and I was always the guys helping people. So one of the ways that I learned to read and write properly was to help other people to read and write. So everything I learned, there was 2 guys that I used to go and help show them, you know what I mean, what I learned. So that helped me to, yeah. So that always helped me to be a giving person. So that is not just of recent. That's from since I was young, right? And yeah. So
So Shannah, I wanna find out from you because you
yeah,
said so many different things right
I
now.
know, right?
Tell me, how many things can you do or you do in order to make revenue? I wanna just right off the top of your head.
Okay.
People are hearing you talking, and I know some of them already, right? But I know there's more. So tell me,
Okay. Well,
what do you do for a living besides martial arts?
okay. So beside martial arts, I'm a licensed farmer, right?
I'm
I'm
counting.
I'm a masseuse.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a consultation for small businesses that want to improve their employees and so on. I was a high school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an architect. I have my company construction, and in construction, I could do tiling, plumbing, furniture making, carpentry work, framing, steel work, drywalling. I could do now I'm doing sewing.
Why did you pick up sewing? Why did you pick up sewing?
It's something that I always loved. And I have been speaking to a few martial artists of old school who keep saying they used to make their uniform. And I remember back in school, I had to choose between sewing and food and nutrition. But because I love food so much, I chose food. And yeah, and I've been sewing for the past couple of I just bought my machine. So man, I do so many things. Like I tell people whatever my hand can touch must turn into gold. As simple as that.
Also being a stuntman in movies.
I'm a stuntman for the movies. Um, um, hmm?
She's
Painting,
she's reminding me
painting,
so much. You reminding me of
fisherman.
you.
But it's so many things I do. I can't keep count because you see, when I was younger, the thing about it is when I was younger, people believe you have to set one goal and work towards that. Life is not designed like that.
Mm.
Right? If you look at every rich millionaire, if you look at Donald Trump, if you look at Bill Gates, you look at all these other guys who are multimillionaires, you will look and you'll see they have over 5 streams of income coming in. So if you want to break poverty and you want to break poverty very seriously and you want to get out of the rat race in a certain way, you cannot rely on just one source of income. And I am the type of guy, I learned this lesson from a Taiwanese man. At the time, he was the Taiwanese representative for Dominica back then. And he said to me when I went and asked him for money to go pay for my black belt exam, yes, I beg. That's how I built my martial arts career, from begging, knocking from door to door, asking for money. And when I asked that guy, he said to me, "You have a skill." And he said to me, "A man with a skill shall never go hungry and will never die and is worth $1 million." And I was about 21 years old, 1 year before I commit suicide. And I never forgot that.
You were tempted to commit suicide.
No, I didn't attempt, princess. I did it. I was in a coma for 24 hours. So I die and come back. Many people don't know that either.
Wait,
That's what I'm telling you. If you're gonna stay until tomorrow morning, man. Like
so what was going on in your head at that time?
I was always an optimistic kind of person. I was always giving my soul. I was always selfless. I was always putting people before me. And to be honest with you, um, I don't want to go down into 100% details, but there was a few people in my life that I looked up to, and they were not giving me the love that I was looking for. They were not giving me time of day, and I was doing my best to make them proud. Like my mom, my girlfriend, one of my karate teacher. I will not go into details with that one. Um, Basically, these three people. My father was, I didn't care much, but these three people I wanted to just make them happy and make them. I was doing everything to make them happy, and they just took everything I did for granted. They always said they never appreciate nothing, and I was like, you know what? And then my grandmother, who I really love, had just passed away not too long ago. So all that pain from my grandmother dying, knowing that she's dying from alcohol, because I used to tell her don't drink and she's gonna die from it, and telling her that that's what's gonna kill her, and she still died from that. So putting all of those things and all the pain that I was going through, having to go beg, knocking from door to door to pay my school fees, to make money, having to work. So all of that overwhelmed me. And I remember coming home. At that time, I was in college. At that time, it was called Dominica Clifftop Community College,
Mhm.
right, with the green and black. And
The last
I remember, yeah. And I remember while I was in college. I remember doing a bet where I climb a coconut tree and come down by my head, climb it up like this way and come down upside down. And I bet $50 I could do that. And I made that $50. At that day, I could have died. And I come home with that $50. And at that time, oh man. So anyway, long story short, I came home and I met argument in the house, people arguing, people this, and then everybody started arguing with me. I'm hungry coming from school because I had to be hitchhiking from Roseville to Portsmouth, bombing ride, and I'm hungry, and I coming home with this $150 to give to my mom so she can, and everybody's in a chaos, and I'm like, remember saying to myself, you know what, my grandmother died, there's no point living, and if that's all you want me to be, then that's what is going to happen. And I remember just walking out, and well, I don't remember drinking free bottles. They said I drank free bottles. At that time, I don't know if you remember nitrate. And nitrate was very potent then. And on a hungry stomach, drinking free bottle of nitrate. And I was like,
three.
I'm go- Yep, I am like, I'm gonna kill myself just like my grandmother, just how she died. So I drank free. Well, I honestly I don't remember drinking free bottle. I remember drinking a bottle and a half, and I remember sitting between two steps, and that was it, right? And the next thing I know, ambulance was called, and my Baba was one of the persons, medallions people, was one of the people who gave me the story, told me my foot was already turning purple, black, whatever. And they had to flush me, rush me to the ambulance, took me, rushed me to the hospital. And then I woke up on that hospital bed the next day, 24 hours after, because that was like happened like 6 o'clock the day before, the next day that happened. And I remember when I woke up, my girlfriend was there, my pastor was there, because I had just gotten baptized. Maybe that's why I didn't die. God was looking at me. My pastor was there, my mom was there, and I remember telling my pastor that I don't want to see these people because they were the cause of everything. And I made a vow on the hospital bed, and I said in front of them to the pastor, Pastor Lewis at the time from Church of Christ, and I said to him, "Look, from this day forward, none of these stuff will ever happen to me ever again. And all the people who want to see me dust off, that's the word I used to use because my dialect. I say all the people want to see me dust off means all the people want to see me die. They're gonna see me live, and I'm gonna live so big and so wide that they wouldn't be able to contain themselves." And that was a broad thing for everybody. And I told my mom I don't want to see her, I don't want to speak to her. And that's when I disconnected from my mom for about over 9 months. And I left my girlfriend, I left everybody, and I end up in a house in Granby, in Hagley, in a little old house. Man, like, oh, you don't want to go down. I'm laughing because it's so much emotion.
Yo, we need another. We need. I run out of taco tea. Like I'm not even like I'm empty.
I warn you, man. I warn you. Like, it's so much stuff. Sorry, my phone keep falling because I'm charging at the same time.
Mhm.
It's so much stuff that is so much, it's so much, it's so much, and I don't like talking about it because it's very emotional. It's very, but I want to talk about it because I want my life to be an inspiration for other people.
I was about.
I don't live for myself anymore. I think I'm God's greatest miracle. That's why I said that in the beginning of the movie. I believe like I am Job, and all the things that you can think about has happened to me, and then I'm still turned out to be the person that I am. And that's why I tell young people, don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself to what you can do. Don't limit yourself to where you can go and the things that you can accomplish in your life. And it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if your mom or your dad is there for you. The most important thing is that they didn't commit an abortion. Your dad didn't put his sperm in a bag. He gave you life. You are one of hundreds of millions of sperm, and you beat all these people in darkness. You
That,
beat these people in darkness because inside there is slippery, it's dark, it's funny, it's just dark. And then
you sound
and
like
then
experience.
I'm telling you, and then, well, I am talking from experience. And then you live underwater for 9 months,
Yeah.
and then you get a breakthrough, and then you see life, and you see the world, and all of a sudden you want to go and believe you're less, and you want to believe you're nothing, and you want to believe that everybody owe you something. Nobody owe you something but yourself,
Do
and
it
this
all.
is what I believe. You know, so
Your great,
regardless of,
right?
say what,
Greatness comes from you. You could.
greatness comes from you. The healing power inside of you is from you.
Yes. Oh, I think yeah, he's been trying to like charge his phone, so I'm gonna get him back on. Don't worry. Gonna get him back on. Gonna get him back on. Here we go. Here we go.
Are
Yes.
you there? I think we get cut off a bit.
Just for 2 seconds.
Hello,
I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
hello,
Hear me? I'm here. We see you.
hello,
We're seeing you. Can you hear me?
hello, 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 hello.
We can see you. Can you see that?
Uh, I don't know. Hello,
I'm here. Let me just get him out and see if I can get him back in. Um, yes. We're talking with
hello,
Shannah. Can you see me? I'm back.
hello, hello.
I'm back. I don't know if you can see me. Okay.
Um,
technical difficulty right now, so we just got disconnected from him, and we're trying to connect again. Um, I'm just letting him know that he can connect back. That I could see him. He can hear you. Okay, so guys, I want you to share this video. So if you're listening, I want you to hit the share button on the video. We're gonna try and get him back on. Let's see if this works again. You hear me?
Hello.
You there?
Okay, let's try. Let's try. I don't know what's going on.
He's having a hard time seeing me, so he's gonna try and reconnect back with Channel Robin. Such an inspirational story, such an inspirational young man, and you'd during Hurricane Maria, Shannon did some of the most amazing things, that you could ever think of. I'm trying to get him back in. You there?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
You got this.
Yeah.
Stop moving.
I'm here.
Right. Right. I was just telling the viewers and the folks listening. You did some of the amazing things during Hurricane Maria.
Oh man.
And one of the first things, first of all, I think myself, there were probably about 10 people who actually had access to internet.
Yeah.
And data during that time. So a lot of people were contacting us. A lot of people were like, they wanted to find their family because not too many people had data. And I remember looking at a video of you telling people how to use water, how to bathe with one bottle of water. So I was dying. Like Dr. Nesty and I, we sat there and we were just like, how to take a bath with one bottle of water and how to wash yourself. And I was on the floor, laughing and stuff. And I think videos like that really kept people motivated and positive during Maria, because when Maria happened and you really was stuck with one bottle of water, you knew exactly what to do, because I think the videos came. We did the videos around the time of Irma.
Erica. No, Erica.
Of Erica, yes. And
of Erica.
Back and people were sharing them.
Yeah.
What for you to do. But besides that, you were very vocal on Facebook. You petitioned for relief. You gathered people up, and you were able to get help from your fellow men outside of Dominica, friends in the martial arts group, and get food. How did you do all that?
Let me tell you something. Like I'm the type of guy, like I make things happen. I don't sit down and ask and wonder what stuff is going to happen. I make things happen. I come from a life where I make things happen and things have to happen, right? And that's where I get very serious. And I remember, let's backtrack a little bit. When Erica happened, right? I remember my student and I hiking through all these landslides from Roseau to Petit Savan. It took us over 9 hours to hike to Petit Savan with just crackers, biscuit, and one sardine, sharing between one pack of crackers, biscuit, and one sardine, two sardines, sharing between the two of us. Actually, we had one, we only eat one. It was so bad that we were walking and dirt through the mudslide was reaching us above our knees, up to our waist, and it was raining. And when we got to Petit Savan, we met some police officer from SSU that was hungry because their food was late up in the bush. And we were helping these guys. And I remember giving my one tin of sardine to these police officers. And then I told them all the different people that I met along the way and all the different things that I meet and all the different things. And I told the people, I'm going to go get help for you. And they trust me and they told me their stories and I saw where they were. And I had to go because I've always been, if you ask the fire service in Dominica, if a fire break out and I'm wrong, I'm going to take the hose. I think I can fight more fire than any fireman in Dominica. If there's a crime going on and the police need help, I will jump on board and assist the police. Because martial arts is about righteousness. It's about what is right, doing what is right. For loved one's country, what is right. And I remember just help, just going out. I mean, I get bashed for it saying I'm looking for publicity, but these people didn't know who I am. If they really knew me, they would not. They would realize that I will do those things. Anyway, so this is why I felt that I had to help these people, and I had people from Mexico. Not Mexico. It's from Texas. From man, I had people from all over the United States messaging me about my lantern with the water and oil, and so many people thanked me and said, "Man, that video had 2.9 million views." Right on Facebook alone, not even YouTube. And at that time, I didn't even know you could get paid for doing stuff like that on YouTube. But it wasn't about getting paid. It was
Good.
about just helping people. It was about sharing your knowledge. Because when you grow up poor and
So
you,
show us how to do the fire with how to,
yeah, because that's how I used to get my. I didn't. There was many times I didn't have light, and I had to have a lantern to study my work. Right. So when you grow up poor, when the time of disaster come, those life saving elements that you have learned come back into effect. But the people who have grown up fortunate and they had everything given to them on a platter. They don't know how to survive. And I feel as a martial artist, my job is to go out there and to help people to survive, to overcome the natural disaster that is going to come, right? Because that's just the way it's supposed to be for me, right? And during Maria, when Maria hit, I was out here. I lost my home. I went home homeless. That's the third time I've been homeless in my life, right? Third time I've been homeless, and I remember contacting people from Switzerland, Germany, New York, and all of these people. They said, you know what, man, I've been following you on Facebook. I see what you do. I trust you. All you need to do is just send us the pictures to make sure you do what you say you're going to do. And I said yes. And I remember going and take my shots, and I remember going and do all the shopping and everything like that. And man, it was a disaster getting to Dominica. And I'm gonna give you a scenario. So I went down to Dominica with over $2,000 worth of food, no clothes, just food, right? Over $2,000 worth of food. And I couldn't, they told me Leah could take one flight. And when I get to Antigua, Leah tell me, no, I can't fly to Antigua. To Dominica because there's no flight. Whoever given information was lying. I said, man, look, this food, I don't even have clothes. I only have food to go help people. And they said, nope, we can't help you. We can only take those who are coming away from Dominica. We can't take you into Dominica. So I had to go and buy on my own money. I had to go and buy a plane ticket from Antigua to St. Lucia. And then from St. Lucia, I had to carry the thing on my head because my money was running out and I didn't have money for a taxi. But there was a guest house not too far from the airport. And I carried these luggages. I have the pictures on my head, right, to this guest house. And then a guy saw me doing that, and then he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm going to Dominica, and I try to help people, and I have food, and I don't have money." So he put me on his little a car and took me to the rest of the way. Anyways, long story short, buy the ticket again, another ticket to go on the boat. Then when I get to the boat, that was a disaster. Everything they say was happening was wrong. And I remember the people wanted me to leave my food in St. Lucia. They say you can't go. I said, man, I'm going to help people. I thought you're supposed to be helping people. Anyway, I was so angry. I was going to do a documentary about it. I just left it alone. I was so angry to the point where the guy wanted me to leave the food behind, my 2 suitcases of food. And then when we got to Martinique, he's taking on a whole bunch of vehicles. I said, which one is more important, vehicles or human life? Anyway, I just leave that alone. And I came to Dominica, and then I had one of my students who was helping me. I had a truck, and I went to get a pass. And do you know, big Shihan going to the police station to get a pass, and they refused to give me a pass to go help the people. And the officer said to me, I don't know if she was having a bad day. I don't know you. And what hurt me, I saw a guy came from New York with his accent and got a pass within 5 minutes.
I remember you
And
said something about that on Facebook.
and man, that was hurtful. But anyway, I'm like, you know what? I'm a resilient person. I don't give up, right? So I took my student, and then we were going around that time. So people were keeping sending the money. So as they send the money, I go and I buy. So took the boat, go to Martin to Guadeloupe, buy stuff, come back, and then I had one of my students who was in Guadeloupe Guadeloupe at the time. She helped me to buy some stuff, come back down. Then I went to Calabishi where there was a supermarket, and I spent a whole couple $1,000 there just because I wanted to support my people. And I was just going around the island helping people with just one truck, my student, nobody, no help, nothing. And only to find out in that process, we helped my student and I, because he was my driver, we helped almost 2,000 people within 2 weeks. And all that time, I'd lost my house. 65% of my apartment was damaged. My dojo was 65% damaged. I left all that behind because when I get to Dominica and I saw the state of my building and I saw the state that I have nothing, to be honest with you, I go insane for a couple hours. For 3 days straight,
So hard to
man, I worked and it was just gone. For 3 days straight, I went straight by one pot and all I was drinking was brandy. I can laugh about it now because it is what it is. And people believe you don't because you're a warrior, you don't go through stress. But when you work so hard to build something and you see it vanish within like that,
it's hard.
you get a nervous breakdown, you know. But my way of recovering from that was to go and help people. Because when I went to help other people, I realized I'm not the only one in that situation. There were people in the same situation or worse than I was, and that built my courage. And for 2 weeks, I was just helping people, going and build their roof, going and help them, going and bring food for them, water for them, whatever. There was a lady right next to me. I used to go and help her to dash water from inside her house, and not doing nothing at my home. You know what I mean? And I remember even the food that I brought for me, I give it away, you know. And then when the Muslim had their thing, I was helping to control people and to give out things. Because but I mean, by that time, people respect who I am and they appreciate who I am and stuff. So it wasn't a very difficult thing to help,
Do
and
you,
I would do it. I would do it again. You know what
how
I mean?
do your countrymen view you today?
Say what?
How do you think your countrymen view you today?
Well, you know what? I don't really care how my countrymen view me. Now I only care how I view myself. And if they were smart, they would view me as somebody special who has done a lot to help people. I hope they are, and I hope they are viewing me in a positive way. But the point I'm trying to say, I'm saying that to say that even if they don't view me how they want to view me, I will still be me and I'll still do what I do because that's just who I am. It's just in my blood. I can't stop. You know what I mean? So I don't really rely on people and what they think about me to make a difference in other people's life. I only rely on the greatness that I have and the power that God has given me to do the things, the gifts that God has given me to do the things, to reach out, to help one, reach one, teach one. And as a martial artist, as a Shihan, as a senior rank, as a founder of a system, I think it is my responsibility and my duty to help the less fortunate. And that's what true martial arts is about. It's about being humble and helping the people that really in need. It's not about making money. It's about really helping people.
Okay, we have something here from Father Sharpless. Father Sharpless is saying this is such a moving and profound story that only God could have carried him through. This story is meant
Oh yeah.
for inspiration for him. I remember presenting at his mom's funeral and was very inspired when he could organize his mom's funeral. Thank God for ensuring he survived through this painful passing, so he could share it with the world today. Mr. Robin, God bless you, and keep telling your story. And that's coming from Father Sharpless, who is in Canada as well.
Oh, really? Oh, we should link up, man. We should link up. Thank you, Father Chaplin. Yeah, when my mom died, like I said to you, like I lived my life to prove my mom that I was gonna be the best version, and I was gonna prove her wrong. Sadly, she haven't seen me become so great, but she saw me starting the journey. And I remember my mom never wanted me to do martial arts. She never cared. She never saw me do martial arts. And you know what? Um, my
I'm sure
mom,
she.
wherever she is now, I think she's very proud, and if she's looking down at me or she's looking at me from across the room or wherever she's looking at me from, I know she's proud because I made her proud. I lived my life to make her proud, and that's why I tell children, forgive your parents. When my mom was on the dying bed, I went to the hospital and I forgive her. I said, Mom, I forgive you. And at that
11.
time, she couldn't speak, and I know she wanted to say that she loved me, I know she wanted to say certain things, but I said to her, it's okay. You don't need to tell me. And I told her, you know what, I'll take care of my little sister and I'll do that and do that. And, I had good backup from my karate student and parents. My students carry her coffin. I give her the best send off. And, sadly, the people I was expecting to help didn't help. Even some of her friends, I remember all the flowers came from me except for one little flower that came from somebody else. But all the beautiful flowers came from me, and I was just going to give my mother the best send off. The most beautiful time I saw my mother was when she was in the casket. And that's a very sad story to say. Because my mother was a very down to earth. She don't care. She wear rags. She don't care. And I didn't really like it, but that's who she were.
Mm.
And when I saw my mom in that casket with that beautiful, it's in my documentary, The Humble Master's Journey. And man, wow, Father Chapels, you bring back memories. I didn't want to go touch that, but you
Do
know,
you have any regrets?
ah,
Do you have any regrets?
in my life, no. To be honest with you, I have no regrets. I don't do things that I don't want to do. And if I had to live my life over, I would do it exactly the same way because it has made me the man that I am today. It has made me the person that I am today. And I know people say you must have at least one regret. The only regret, if I had to have a regret, if I had to say I had a regret, I was born in the wrong part of the world. Because all these great people out there, they're not that different from me. They're not that better than me. They just have an opportunity that I never had. Because with my drive and my work, if back then, well, it's not too late. Hoping that look, the Martial Arts Hall of Fame just took place, and more will come. But I'm just saying, back in the days, if someone I was exposed to certain opportunities, then who knows who I might be the next Michael Jordan or the next Bruce Lee or the next Jackie Chang or the next whoever, right? But the point is I had to be who I am to prepare me for this journey, and I'm happy for where I am. So I don't really have a regret. I don't have a regret. I
We're
not
running
the,
out of what's in store? What's in store for you? What happens next?
I never know what happened next. Everybody asks me the question. I never know. I live
You live like a bird on a tree.
I live my life. I mean, I set goals and I accomplish them. And when I accomplish them, I set another goal. Every goal that I've set for myself, I have attained. Every single one of my goals that I have set for myself, I have attained. I always wanted to be in the movies. I get an opportunity to be there for a short time. I had to take a break because I want to concentrate on my dojo. But lots of my friends still want me to come back. Uh, and the part that I got to play is not the part that I really want to play because I think I have a lot of greatness to offer
Mhm.
than just. So hopefully that will manifest in time because planted the seed before and it manifested. Um, my dojo here is growing. It's a lot of hard work and there's a lot of things that you have to do out here to maintain and keep your head above water. But to be honest with you, I just keep setting goals, attain them, set more goals, attain them, set more goals, attain them. And that's just why I live. I live two goals, sometimes three goals at a time.
Well,
And I'm the type of guy, one lesson that my grandmother always teach me, she taught me was never count my chicken before it hatch, right? So I never tell people what I'm gonna do. I always do it first and then tell them because I don't like disappointing people. You know what I mean? I'm a man of my word, a man of my action. Integrity is a very big part of my life. If I say I'm gonna do something, trust me, I'm gonna do it. And that's who I am.
well, you have definitely inspired a lot of people here in Dominica, around the world. People who are looking like we have Ursula from Switzerland who's saying, "Thank you for your inspiration and positive vibes." Keep it
Hey, Ostila, hey. That
going.
was one of my best kickboxing ladies. I can go anywhere with that lady. Trust me.
Yes, yes, special shout out to you. But you've motivated so many people, and not just motivate. You teach a lot of young people, a lot of children,
Oh
um,
yeah.
karate. Although my son hates karate, and I think I don't know if it has to do with you. I don't know exact because you were his first inspiration to like you were the first person he saw do karate, but he never said that he hated karate because he hated the art of karate. I think he just figured that he could be like his mother and use his mouth to defend himself instead.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Like, no, your son is very special, and martial arts is not for everybody. And everybody has their greatness and so on. And your son is a little bit shy, and because he has that nice little bit that little shyness to be a true warrior, he has to break out of that, and I don't think he's ready to break out of that yet. Sometimes it takes a little time to break out of that shyness.
Yeah, that's
And
so
but I have taught so many people, and so what I tell people is, martial arts is a beautiful thing, but it's not for everybody. It takes a certain kind of confidence and a certain type of courage to be a true karateka. And maybe one day he might want to get back into it. Maybe one day he might like it again. And because he was doing okay when he was attending classes,
Well,
he was doing very well, you
one
know.
said to me, I don't want to do karate anymore. And I'm like, why? And he goes, I just don't want to do it anymore. I don't need to learn to defend myself. And I'm like, why you don't
And
want
you see, and I'll tell you a secret. Every child go through that phase. Every child who start that young, at
to
some point, all my black belts, at some point told their parents they wanted to stop. You know,
here
all.
in Canada? I try to introduce him to the classes here, and
Hmm.
he's interested in basketball. He's interested in soccer.
See,
He loves swimming, but karate from the time I tell him, I wonder what is that sensei do to my child and make him so
I didn't do nothing to your child.
this
But
I
you know,
I think he's not into it, and that's pretty much it. You know, he's
yeah, I just think he just maybe that's not his calling. Maybe that's just not his calling. Maybe his calling is to maybe be a swimmer.
he's very like he knows what he wants, so he's not.
You're right. So
Last night we went to an event and he's like, I want to go on the mic and give jokes. I'm like, you want to go on the mic and give jokes? He goes, yeah. I want to go and talk about my uncle because it was my granduncle's birthday party, and I'm like, Devani, no, you don't know nothing about Uncle Richard. You're not going up on the mic to give no jokes. And he said, but mommy, why? I want to go up and give jokes. So he's not
so so
scared.
so, so maybe his calling is to be a stand-up comedian. Maybe it's to be a swimmer.
But
Man, stand-up comedian make a lot of money. You never know. You gotta maybe after one day, let him try. Maybe one day he might change his goal because I'll tell you, kids the goals change as they grow. The one time they want to be a doctor, another time they want to be a police, another time they want to be an entrepreneur, another time they want to be like their mommy, another time they want to be like their daddy. So they grow as they grow. So sometimes you have to let them, and your child is not really a bad child, but you have to say you need to do martial arts because you need that discipline. So that's blessings for you on that. But if you have a child that needs the discipline, they will tell you, because I've had children say, I don't want to do it because they didn't want the discipline. They didn't want the instructions. They want to do whatever they want to do. And their parents like, nope, you got to do it. And who today they are my best students. They're in university. They're in college. The parents are sending me thank you notes saying thank you for helping my son. And even when I go to China, these places, and I teaching people on wheelchairs, it gives me great pleasure to help these type of people. And I think that's my next mission. I want to organize my system in such a way that I can have classes on a regular basis for the how we call it the disabled people. And the disability I'm talking about is either Down syndrome, on a wheelchair. They have some kind of problem where they are not like normal us. Some of them are greater than us, I'll tell you that, because I've worked with some kids with Down syndrome here in Canada, and they are very intelligent.
yes, yes,
They are very, very intelligent, and I enjoy working with these young people. And they if you program them right, the level of respect that they have for you will be phenomenal. You understand? But people don't have the patience to tap into those type of people, and I like those type of people because it remind me of who I am and where I came from.
to you. It's a challenge that you
You
want to
understand?
be too greedy. Be too greedy.
Well, you know what? Greedy is relative, Jael. Greedy is relative. It depends on what you're talking about, what you mean by greedy. Because
Greedy too.
if you're not greedy, you're gonna starve.
I greedy too. Let me tell you.
If you're not greedy, you're going to starve.
Oh
And
my!
I
It was such a pleasure having you here on Cacoa. This is my longest show ever, and I know we could
how long have we been on?
be on about 2 hours. It's going on 2 hours
Really?
now.
No.
It's almost gonna be 2 hours soon. Yeah.
No. See, I told you that would take 5 days.
Shut you up. You just keep talking, right? But you are such an inspiration to a lot of people, a lot of young people. I think that at the end of the day, your message and your message needs to be put out there. People need to know what you're about. You have so many different things in store. I mean, you've written a few books, so if people want to reach out to you, your social media handle, as I said, is above or below, depends on what device you're using to look at the show. And you can always click on his link, and if you send him a message, he usually gets back to you in 2 to 3 days.
Thank you, Jael.
Send him a message. I'm like your personal assistant now, because I know I'm talking from experience, right?
You know why Michael Jackson was Michael Jackson?
Why?
Because he was not easily available.
Okay then. Okay, but it was a pleasure talking to you and getting to know a little bit about you, and what you're about. And I again, I want to congratulate you on all your achievements thus far. And I can only see you doing so many more amazing things here in Dominica, around the world. I expect to see you in the next movie of some sort. Have so many talented Dominicans and so many. And I still don't feel like you are, that my personal opinion, that you're recognized like you should be. And I made a comment, and I'm going to, and I probably
Robbie Tongue, you listening?
probably gonna get flack for it, but I don't think our countrymen recognize greatness within, and they always look for greatness out of.
Outside.
Not
It's
necessarily,
the truth, man. It's the truth. And as I said, yeah, go ahead.
it might not necessarily be a Dominican thing. It might be a West Indian thing. I don't know if it's a crab in the bucket mentality. I don't know exactly what it is. If it comes from our ancestors. I don't know where it comes from, but it's a disease. And Cacoa Tea is a platform whereby I feel like we need to expose ourselves. We need to actually reach our full potential, and we can do that through social media, because social media will reach places, right?
Oh yeah.
People get to know about you and what you stand for. So I'm kind of sort of done with like trying to prove myself to my countrymen. I mean, it's like I'm over it, and
Welcome to my world.
I've been over it for a while, because you can try as hard. It's like trying to remove blood from stone. Impossible,
Well,
right?
yeah, but like for me, like Jill, let me tell you, like someone might say, someone who doesn't know, they might ask, "What's your resume?" All right. And for me, I have an associate degree in architectural design. I have certificate from City and Guild in building construction. I have my own company registered in Dominica. I'm the founder, chief instructor of Universal Martial Arts Academy. I am two-time Martial Arts Hall of Fame inductee. The recent one and the first one was back in 2010. I'm a six-time world champion. One in two, 3 times in fighting, 2 times in weapons, and others in cutters. Just to name a
I have
few.
an extensive resume, pretty much, but that
And the most I even forget my achievements, and the most valuable one in 2014, being recognized by the president of Dominica, Medal Service of Honor. I'm being the third martial artist in the whole of the Caribbean to receive such an award, being the youngest martial artist in the Caribbean to receive such an award, and being the first martial artist in Dominica to achieve that and accomplish that, and being the second youngest martial art person in Dominica to receive a Material Service of Award from the president of the country. I mean, and yet still, I am representing my medal, because I know a lot of people that got the medal and then they just go and collect dust. But I figure if you have a medal of honor from the president, you have to be selfless. You have to keep doing what you're doing, and you got to put yourself out there to make people's life better. And that's what I'm doing. I'm putting myself out there. I mean, some people might like me, some people might not like me. I don't really care. I do what I do best, and what I do best is help people, because I love me. And once I love me, everything else is okay. Once God love me, everything else is okay. And that is just
amen,
simple as it is.
amen. Shannah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so very much for being on with us. I look forward to seeing. I mean, I follow you like every now and again. There are a few people that I actually go on the Facebook page. You are one of the few people. Like there's like a handful. There's probably 5 people I go on their Facebook page.
I
I don't,
appreciate that. Thank you.
because you always have some stupidness you're talking, and and I find it very entertaining, and the way you actually you have that don't care, vibe, and you don't care who likes you. You're gonna be you, okay? And I can
Man.
appreciate because I'm somewhat. I'm a somewhat the same person. I don't care what people think, and I wish you all the best in all your endeavors, everything that you're going to do, your movie, your documentary, and all the different things that you're putting out there.
Oh,
Yes.
my book gonna be out on Amazon soon. The
Okay.
Positive Mind, the Power is Now. And then
Mhm.
someone was saying earlier I should write a book. I have a book that's already written, edited. I'm just looking for the right publisher because I think it could be a bestseller. So I'm holding it back. It's in my archive for the last from since
I have
2016. You have
I
a
have a
publisher?
Canadian.
Okay,
Yes.
so privately, let's talk about that and stuff like that. Also, my documentary is out. My documentary, I haven't put it on YouTube or whatever yet because I'm using it as a motivational piece for young people. And the proceeding that I collect from that documentary, I'm using it to sponsor one child from the Seventh Day Adventist Secondary School where I went for the next 3 to 4 years. So
Wow.
yeah, um, that's why you haven't seen them.
It's all about giving back for you, and you've done so much to give back, and I hope that people actually acknowledge and give you your flowers while you're alive, and because you've acknowledged everybody who's been an instrument in your life,
Oh
and
yeah.
to you, and you always did. I remember listening to you on Fadinas in the spotlight, and you did mention all the people who've played a role. Unfortunately, we're out of time and we can't mention everybody else. I'm encouraging folks to actually go out there and follow you on Facebook because you always put out something. They can get to know what you're doing out there. They can follow you, know when your book is available. So go ahead and share the link. Make sure you hit share. All you sending all your messages. I see somebody just saying sweet Shelly. Somebody, everybody, everybody's sending, their comments and stuff, and they're so happy to hear your story and to be able to connect with you. And I wish you all the best, you and your entire
Thank you
family,
very much.
and business wise, family wise. Just keep doing you, keep doing you. And I hope that you can get some Cacoa tea, soon.
I'm gonna have to come out to Toronto and get some Cacoa tea, man. Jael, I want to say
I have a little something
that doesn't stick on me. I can't get. I'm like dashing bush. Them thing doesn't stick on me.
it's not dashing bush, it's dashing leaf.
Dashing leaf. Okay, I'm a dashing leaf. It doesn't stick on me.
And
Jael, I want to say thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. I really enjoy it. And yeah, man, so many things we didn't talk about, but maybe a next time.
always a next time, it's always a
Always the next time.
I'll wait when you're on the red carpet, or when they give you a star in Hollywood, and
Yeah.
like, well, get interview, I might be the one to interview you on the, while you
But
get.
let's hope that my country do something about that first. Let's hope that Prime Minister Skerritt and Honorable Town and all these great men do something.
And you know what? It's okay if they don't, because somebody else will.
You see
Right?
that? You hit it on the nail. Thank you very much, Jael. I really appreciate for having me. I really appreciate it.
So really
And
appreciate.
thank you to your listeners for all the wonderful comments and all the positive and encouragement. I'll keep doing my best.
And I encourage you, if you have a moment, you can actually go back and view the comments if you want to actually respond to some of them.
Oh yes, please send me a link.
You can the link is on my page, so I
Okay.
share it with you as well. You
Okay.
can please go back, and a lot of people have sent a lot of kind words.
Can you tag me? Can you tag me in it?
I will tag you in, and you
Okay.
can go on there and share the entire interview. I encourage folks to share the interview. And you know what? Thanks again, guys, for toughing it out for the longest interview ever. My next interview might be even longer because my next interview I'll be interviewing my sister, and that will be a tough one. I never thought in a million years I would have to interview my sister like that. So I'm looking forward to it, and that's in the next 2 weeks. So on November the 10th will be the next show, the next Cacoa show. And thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Until next time, have a good day. Thanks,
Yeah,
Sharon.
thank you very much. You have greatness in you. Ciao. Peace.